What's up? This is Gravel. This week we've got no Bobby once again, but who do we have? Mr. Leland Daines, and we talk about high school cycling. Hey guys, what's up? This is Gravel. I'm Neil Taylor. Sitting next to me today, man, who are you? Do people remember who this guy is?
No one even knows anymore.
Wow, what's up, Leland? How you doing, man?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me back on the show. It has been a while, about 10 months or more to be precise.
Yeah, it's been a while. So what have you been up to in those 10 months? Have you ridden your bike?
I have ridden a few times, even taught some skills to the local community. But more importantly, I'm just waiting for my daughter to become old enough and able enough that I can put her on a strider and start towing her along and getting her on a bike.
I was going to say, that's probably the biggest change in your life over the past 10 months.
That has been a pretty big one. Yeah, she's about 7.5 months old now. And time is just a-flying.
It does, and it does not slow down. Having a almost 9-year-old now and a 4-year-old, it just will go by fast, and all of a sudden you're going to be like, what happened? But also speaking from getting them on the Striders, that's the best time, man. It's so awesome getting to see them ride bikes.
Looking forward to it.
Very cool. So, let's see, what have I been up to? Ooh, riding bikes a little bit.
Good.
Half marathon training.
Yeah, you've got that coming up.
Yep. I got out for about a 7-mile run here this past week. It's the longest I've gone in about 12 years. So definitely a little weird. But I had to follow it up, no doubt, with some gravel. So I got out. I hadn't done a whole lot of riding by myself recently. So I got out and did a 30-mile ride, which was just really good on the legs. So going out and run 7 miles, following it up with a 30-mile bike ride, felt pretty good. So hopefully,
nice.
Hopefully I can keep with it. Running scares me, so I don't know if you got any running advice, but I might have to talk to you here after the show about that.
Yeah, I've tried to dabble in some running, as old viewers might recall, but my best running advice is put on some cycling shoes and go pedal your bike.
I like that. All right, so speaking of cycling, we've got a lot going on within our community, as always. I mean, Emporia is kind of a hub for a lot of things cycling. But today we're going to focus, I would say, on something a little bit different than what we focused on before in the show. We're going to talk about an initiative really that you kind of brought to my attention, I'd say about 10 months ago or so. Sat down and talked over in the office, and we're going to talk high school cycling. And so, first of all, what are some goals, or what kind of brought this to the attention really to say, hey, let's get this going here in Kansas?
Yeah, well, when I returned to Emporia about 5 years ago, I'd been working out in Colorado, and of course, youth were riding bikes out there. Cycling was an activity that was pretty commonplace in the mountainous areas of the United States. Colorado, of course, being a hotbed for that sort of thing. And so when I knew I was coming back to Emporia, I had two kind of what I would call personal goals, even though they were very tied into professional. But of course, the big thing was to come back and help Dirty Kansas grow. I think we've done that in the last 5 years. And then on top of that, I wanted to see the Flint Hills recognized as a top national cycling destination. And there's no official publication lining that out, but I feel pretty confident we've achieved that goal. And the other one was to get more youth involved in cycling. And at that time, 5 years ago, I wasn't exactly thinking high school cycling. I was just thinking more kids on bikes programs. times. But over the last 5 years, as I had failed to start on that initiative, it kind of morphed into getting paired up with NICA, the National Interscholastic Cycling Association, and really buying into the fact that we need to address more kids on bikes at all ages and all levels. But NICA provided an outlet for the high school students that's very streamlined and seemed like a good place to start. So I had met Austin McInerney out at Sea Otter, and then he came to Dirty Kansas, and we did a clinic and a panel there, Dirty Kansas weekend at the Granada Theater. And that was really our foray into it. We got started. We learned what we needed to. And I said, cool, I've got what I need to start recruiting other crazy people to sacrifice copious amounts of time to help us bring this vision to Kansas. Because the existing leagues were all mountain bike. And not all in mountainous states, but primarily. You've got your mountain region pretty well covered. Even on the East Coast, a lot of those states have the Appalachians. So there's only a handful of states that have a league that aren't really considered to be mountainous. And so there are certainly no states in the plains, and absolutely zero states doing a gravel-centric or even gravel-included portion with their race calendar. And so I really saw a lot of opportunity for Kansas to be this kind of pilot league in gravel, and hopefully inspire other plain states that might have not only a lack of trail systems, but a difficulty with their trail systems. We have great mountain bike trails in Kansas, but being a clay-based region, they're pretty knocked out of commission for a lot of the year because we can't ride in our mud like other states can ride when it's wet, given their soil types. So pretty exciting stuff there. And as you mentioned, that I immediately came to you and I said, Neil, you're the right guy for this job locally right here in Emporia. We need to get something going. And so you've done an amazing job getting that started here in Emporia.
Yeah,
tell us about that.
It's been fun getting going. I remember when we first sat down, we're like, man, if we could get 3 kids on bikes, that's going to be awesome. In reality, we didn't know what to expect. We were kind of going into this, I would say, a little bit blind and trying to feel it out. You were kind of taking care of the state initiative, getting a board built up, other things so that we could get a league statewide in place. And so with the school, it was, all right, let's get this figured out. And I remember back, I believe in June, yourself, producer Matt, and myself all met up at the school and had a conversation and kind of got the wheels rolling a little bit. And I was just stunned by when we had a club get together, basically all the clubs on the high school campus come together, and we had 31 students sign up. Now, of course, we knew not all 31 are going to show up, but we have had 15 students show up at some point either for rides or meetings, and are consistently, at least on each ride, having 5-6 kids out there. And it's amazing because some of these kids, I think, would be ready by Dirty Kansas to do 100. I mean, I really think they will. Some of these kids, I've got to witness their first mile ever on a bike. And so it's a wide range of skill levels with some of these students. Some of them can jump out on the trails. We've ridden the trails occasionally. Some of them can handle some of those rough, rutted out minimum maintenance roads. And other ones are, let's just keep the legs moving. But the one thing I've seen is they love it. They're encouraging each other a whole lot. Sometimes we just decide, let's have a little bit of fun. And so we've got one of our students, Isaac, who works up at Gravel City. He's really good with some skills, and so he tries to teach everybody how to bunny hop, how to do wheelies. And so, when we're just at one of those tough points where, man, we've been grinding into the wind for maybe 5 miles, he's like, wheelie time, and he'll just start popping wheelies or bunny hopping, and a lot of the rest of the students will try to follow along. And myself, I didn't know how to bunny hop previously before doing this, and he's actually got me to the point that I could do it now. So it's been a really cool experience. The students have become the teacher on things like that, but it's just awesome seeing how much they're enjoying it. To be honest, I'm getting text messages daily saying, hey, can we go out today? Hey, can we go out today? And at sometimes I'm like, yeah, let's go. And at other times I'm like, gotta do the family thing too, So, but it has been awesome to see the excitement They want to get out there and ride more and more. They want to already go out and do 50, 60, 70 miles. I'm like, guys, we've done 20 so far. We can't just jump to 50. You know, there's some things to learn. So we've sat down and talked nutrition, talked how to take care of their bikes, problem solve some things, if the case they run into some issues out there on the gravel. But it's been an awesome experience so far, and I'm looking forward to not just what the rest of this year holds, but really I think the future of this, because a lot of these students that are in right now are freshmen and sophomores. We have one senior, a couple juniors, but these are kids that are going to be here for a while, doing this club, doing this program, doing this sport with us. And like I say, I only see it growing really from here on forward. So looking forward to it.
No doubt. I mean, how refreshing to hear you say that, you're getting energized by riding with these kids and remembering to ride a bike like a kid again.
Yeah, just have fun. I mean, sometimes we get, I think, so caught up in racing. The reality is I know I'm never going to be on a podium, at least at any big event, maybe some small local event where, there's 3 people on the single speed podium, category might walk onto it there. But more likely, it's not going to happen. So let's get out there and have some fun. And so, this past week, the trails had started to dry up a little bit, and so they were rideable. And so we went over and we rode Trussler, and we just, had a good time through there. And I haven't been on trails in probably over a year now. And it was just awesome to get out there to ride trails, to have some fun. If you fall, you fall. We're just having a good time together. And then jump on the ESU trails where, the dry sections were, and just have a good time with them. And so, I've been totally energized by doing this and getting to hang out with them. And I think our energy kind of feeds each other. They see my excitement and they want to get out and say, let's do 50. I see their excitement, and it's like, let's have some fun doing what we're doing. So it's been awesome.
Now, I know this sounds like Neil and I have this locked down and streamlined and rolling, but the reality is we have only just begun, and we still need tons of help. So I'm speaking to my Kansas listeners specifically here. There are lots of ways to get involved. For those locally in Emporia, Neil can't do this alone. Extra ride guides and coaches and mentors would be phenomenal, especially as that group grows. Even if you don't ride with the club, signing up to be a carpool driver or something when they're ready to start going to events and things of that nature. I mean, lots of ways to get involved. Neil can tell you all about that. And at the state level, we need clubs all over the place. We need people who are thinking this is a great idea and willing to do the work to go into their local school, talk to the administration and say, hey, I want to do what Neil did and start a cycling club. And they say, well, who's Neil? You'll say, well, he's pretty cool.
Don't you know?
But that's really all it takes, because that's all we did. We walked into Emporia High School. We said, who do I talk to? They said, this guy over here. We said, great. Set up a meeting, and everything just went from there.
And one thing I found, I mean, if you are really thinking, hey, this is what I want to do, the schools, I believe, are really going to be supportive on this across the board, because this is so positive for this age group. This is a sport that anybody can do. I've got students of all shapes and sizes. I've got, I think 7 or 8 girls, and a handful of guys as well. I mean, it's a pretty even, I think, gender division within the group, and
which is phenomenal.
Which is just awesome. And so this isn't something where it's only the jocks can get out and do this. And I think the schools will see that. You can bring up to them just how good it is really for our mental health, I think, to get out there and to be on bikes and to be in nature. And at least I know here that seemed to be that, the school picked up on that right away and was like, let's get it rolling.
For sure. So lots of ways as a volunteer to get involved, to raise promoters, at a kids class, at a high school division. I don't care how many kids you get signing up, at it every single year. Make it a distance that's palatable for those kids that are just beginning, not the super hardcore racers. Give them an opportunity to get their feet wet in this activity and this hobby that we love so much. So no matter what your involvement with cycling or your uninvolvement with cycling, there are ways for you to get involved. I'm going to put the impetus on producer Matt here. Reach out through Gravel Guru. If you do have questions, he is involved, or can put you in touch with me if you have questions that I'm better equipped to help you with. So,
yeah. Well, keeping it on the theme of youth cycling, producer Matt's got over with Adam Blake for what might be
One Take Blake.
One Take Blake's last segment here with Gravel Guru. Who knows? Maybe he'll do some more
Emporian.
when he comes back to town and visits us.
Technology and things.
But it's
we can
always,
superimpose him into.
That's right. Yeah, we'll just bring him back. I mean, it can happen. The Star Wars movies do it. Matt can do it. Come on. But let's hear what Adam has to say about youth bikes.
Hey everybody, this is Adam from Gravel City Adventure and Supply Company, talking today about potentially the first bike, getting kids on bikes, getting high schoolers on bikes specifically. Two distinct styles of riding that we see supported more in the high school level are going to be gravel bikes here in Kansas or mountain bikes in places like Minnesota. Either one has virtues and some versatility. Either one can be ridden on all types of terrain, but what we'd like to talk about today is kind of the perks and things you should look for when getting your first real maybe bike shop quality bike, getting a little more serious, riding a little further. First thing I can't stress enough is support your local bike shop. They're going to provide service for your bike, professional assembly, hopefully some sizing, because as we depart from department store type bikes, we're gonna have individual sized frames to tailor the fit to you more than just based on a wheel size. The other things they're gonna do is they're gonna give you recommendations on products, hopefully great value in products that are gonna help you succeed, help your high schooler or your kid succeed and go further and be more confident. Bikes like the Journeyman from Salsa Cycles are a great entry into gravel riding. Comes in multiple styles, multiple wheel styles, and multiple colors. And a bike for us, a true mountain bike, is something like the Timberjack from Salsa Cycles. Gonna feature things like a 1x drivetrain for very confident shifting, disc brakes, and this particular one is going to be a 27.5 by 3-inch tire, so 27.5 plus. It's going to give you better traction and better rollover. If you want to dabble in gravel, a mountain bike can do that. A gravel bike is a little more specific though, because it's not so at home on the trails, but you can ride it on the road, and you could ride a mountain bike on the road. I encourage you to visit your local shop, inquire about bike fitting and the best values for you as you get started or your kid as they get started. The principles apply to both, and a bike shop is going to be your best reference point. Stop on in to Gravel City Adventure and Supply Company if you want to learn more about Timberjacks, Journeyman, or any other of the bikes that we stock.
Awesome, Adam. Appreciate that. So speaking of bikes and youth first bikes, what was your first bike, Leo?
Oh man, the first bike that I can remember was a little Huffy. And, you know, I grew up in the country, and I have a brother that's about 18 months older than me, so we're pretty close in age, and we got into all kinds of trouble. And when you don't have anything but pretty much fields and creeks around your house, you're given, and this is the 80s, mind you, when parents had no problem giving you free range, we would take those bikes all over the place. And it was really a vehicle for exploration for us. A vehicle to just have some fun and hurt ourselves quite often. So that little thing saw a lot of action. We were outside all the time, and I'd say nearly daily we were on those bikes going somewhere. It was pretty important to us, and we didn't really think of it at the time as an activity to go do. It was a tool. It was a means to go accomplish something else usually, or so it was pretty exciting. And then I fell away from the bike for a little bit, and then came back in my early 20s. And I'll tell you what, taking first timers out on the trail was one of the greatest feelings. Still is one of the greatest feelings I have riding a bike. And so I love seeing people almost kind of have that rebirth into cycling, because most of us do fall away through our teenage years into our early 20s, and when they come back, and to be able to expose them to that and see that on their faces, and to see them light up like these kids are that you're working with, it's really exciting stuff. How about you? What was the first bike you remember pedaling down the road?
First bike I can remember is one that we got from a really fancy place called the Landfill, because we were pretty poor growing up, and so
local shop?
Yeah, it's a local shop called the Landfill. And no, my dad, with his job, had to drop some things off there one day and saw this bike. He's like, "Hey, let's go pick up a bike after he gets off of work." So we went and picked up a bike at the Landfill. But I'll tell you what, steel frame bike, so the frame was good. I don't know what brand, to be honest, it was. It was just an old, 20-incher. And so 20-inch wheels, and I think it had plastic spokes. But I tell you what, I rode that bike till it basically was just dead. Tore the tires to shreds, doing skids all up and down the street. I'll tell you what, I probably put, just as a kid thinking, I'd probably put a couple 100 miles a year, if not more, because again, 80s, free reign. I went to places, I guarantee you that if my dad was watching, which he's not, but if he was watching, it'd be like, "You did what as a kid?" Because we definitely rode way away from the house and places that we should not have been going, because I didn't grow up in the country. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, and so, yeah, you had free reign, but it wasn't like, hey, it's okay to go and ride your bike 10 miles away. Well, oops. So, had fun as a kid on the bike. It was always a tool for having fun. There was never a moment where as children we didn't have fun on the bike. Even if we were, popping wheelies, or if we were going off ramps and falling, and tearing our knees up, we were still having a blast. And like you, I didn't ride a bike, honestly. Like after probably my freshman year of high school, I didn't ride a bike again until I moved here to Emporia. And moving here to Emporia, got
pretty
back
hard
on
not
the bike.
to here, isn't it?
Well, I being a minister at a church, I had an individual at our congregation say, "Hey, come out and ride bikes with us." I'm like, "Nope," and just kept asking, and finally I'm like, "All right, I'll give it a go." And I remember the first time I went up to the ESU trails, it took me over 40 minutes to do that, probably 3.5 miles worth of trail that's up there, and it just killed me, but I was also hooked. Next day I'm like, let's go back out and do it again. And then before you knew it, I bought my own bike and was getting out and riding gravel and trails, and now doing, 4,000 to 5,000 miles a year. So it's amazing what a bike can do for you, not just as a child, as a youth, but also when you're older, to help out, like I say, physically and mentally. So.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I know Neil and I are interested, so help us take a walk down memory lane, and producer Matt's going to put up on Facebook what was your first bike, and I'll one-up you. If you can provide a picture of you and your first bike, that would be pretty stellar, and you'll get fist bumps for life. At least, right?
Definitely. I'm going to look for one.
Make producer
tonight.
Matt come up with something cool. Show us some pictures of you and your first bike, or an early bike from your childhood. That would be pretty exciting to take a look at.
Yeah, and speaking of pictures too, I think Matt's got some social media that he's about ready to roll. So let's see what you guys have been riding here recently.
Hey, Gravel Guru fans, thanks for sending in your social media using the hashtag #ThisIsGravel. First up, we've got a photo Cameron submitted. Back on the Rock Island/Katy Trail. Looks like a fun time out there. Jacob Marple sent in this photo from Oklahoma Freerides Fandango at Roman Nose State Park. Savon Twilley sent in this photo riding the Trinity Trail, Fort Worth, Texas. Jeff Boyer was up at the Unpaved event in Pennsylvania. Todd Smith was out riding in the desolate, windy, and peaceful Nebraska. Jason Young sent in this photo of the Howling Coyote Gravel Grinder in Mono, Ontario. Was a hill of a good time. Megan Merriman was out on the Rock Island Trail from Pleasant Hill to Windsor, Missouri. Amy sent in this photo riding the fat bike south of Manhattan, Kansas. Samantha was out at the BT Epic outside Steelville, Missouri. David Jones was at the Gravel Growler in Bentonville, Arkansas. Paul Brasby was out riding the Fatty at Potter's Pasture Mountain Bike Trail System near Brady, Nebraska. Beth Morford said they did the Candango unpaved ride out in the Flint Hills area surrounding Alma, Kansas. It was an awesome event, she said. Mike Nichols took a road trip to the Indianapolis area for the Zionsville Harvest 50, a nice flat course with great gravel that could have been really fast except for the headwinds and side winds gusting up to 40+ mile per hour. That made for one heck of an adventure. Great job, Mike. Kerry Bax was out at the Cuban Gravel Crisis 2018 in Cuba, Missouri. 102 miles of curvy, hilly, and colorful gravel roads. And finally, Isaac was out riding north of Emporia and he found a toilet. Great job, Isaac. Thanks to everybody that submitted photos using the hashtag #ThisIsGravel. We love seeing them. Keep sending them in.
Awesome, guys. Appreciate those pictures. Again, we love seeing everything that you guys are doing. There's so many fall races that are just a blast. Trying to see if I can fit in my schedule a couple more here this fall, but between trying some family time, we got about 3 birthdays in a row here in the next few months in our family of the 4 of us. So the fall races are usually pretty tough for me to get a hold on, but I know I'm looking forward to springtime. I already know that here in about 2 weeks is Land Runs registration, so already gearing up to get back out for that and to have some fun there. But again, thanks guys for the pictures. We love seeing them. Make sure you're tagging everything you're doing with This Is Gravel so that we can check it out, and we will see you guys next week.